Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? It's a beautiful day. Wow. Love that sunshine. Yay. So we're gathering people from the entry. Come on in, find a seat. Good to see everybody. All right, we're almost here. Good job. Well, good morning. My name's Courtney Fuchs, and I'm a grandma. Yay! That just happened on Tuesday. I'm also vice president of the Unity Council. Welcome to Unity of Fort Collins, but super excited about my new grandbaby girl. Oh, is there anybody here who is here for the very first time? If you want to raise your hand. Nope, looks like everybody's a return person, which is great. Welcome to the online participants. We're glad you're out there too, and we know that you're part of our community, even if you're out there in your jammies drinking coffee, which I love that. That's great. Good day for doing that. The speaker today is Miss Barbara Weimar. We're very excited to hear what she has to say. And instead of a reading time, as we've been doing all of February, we have Robert Hudgens and JoEllen Fulton sharing their thoughts on unity. So that's all in honor of our 50th anniversary, which we're still celebrating. And we're super excited to have John Magny and the band and the choir. Yay! Always a good Sunday when they're here. Our Unity Youth Program is continuing the theme of a peaceful heart. The kids are now working on a puppet show. They were making puppets for the last few weeks, and the puppet show is going to highlight the processing of emotions they've been learning about, and they'll use the special puppets that they created. The prayer chaplain of the day is Robert Hudgens, and he'll be in the Myrtle Room just down this hallway for about 10 minutes after the service if you need any prayer support. If you don't have a prayer chaplain and would like one, there's a sign-up sheet on the entry table. So just put your name down, and Sharon will make sure you get a prayer chaplain to pray with you. It's really a lovely part of my month to get my prayer. My prayer chaplain actually just emails me, which is fabulous. But I've had them where they call me as well. And either way, it's just really touching. They really care about everybody in the community and really love to pray with us. So that's wonderful. There's a Love in Action meeting today at 11:15. Oh, there's not a Love in Action meeting today. And I think before I go forward, I'll let these guys come up, and then I'll finish up the announcements.
Good morning. I got a little text from Will Moore, and he wanted me to remind you of the drumming circle this Thursday at 5 o'clock, and I guess there's a bunch of new drums that you can have an opportunity to find out how they sound, so come and join them at 5 o'clock this Thursday. The other thing I have is we're starting the Women's Together Circle, which is a potluck and sharing with women of their thoughts. And that's going to be on March 1st, and I've got a little sign up for that. And I was thinking, if you're a guy and you'd like something like this too, why don't you let us know, and maybe we can get something together for the guys if they'd like to have some kind of group that got together and ate and talked. So. Yeah, March the 1st is a Saturday, and it's from 11 to 1. Thanks.
Good morning. Hi. Thanks. Little extra tug there. My name is Kamina, and yes, I know Valentine's Day is over. However, gratefully, thankfully, love is not over. Right? So I invite you to join us on Tuesday evening at 7 in the Roomy Room for a peace meditation. And this is an opportunity to spread the love to every person, every being. Now, this is if you love them, if you like them, and even if you're not sure. Still, sending love is really beneficial, not only to others, but to each and every one of us. So I hope to see you there Tuesday, 7 o'clock, Roomy Room. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Kamina. Will Moore has also been helping to kind of clean out the library, remove duplicates and stuff like that, and he's putting the used books that he has pulled in the bookstore. They'll have a red dot on them, and they're just a love offering. So look through. There's still some really awesome titles back there, and you can just choose how much you want to give for that. So next Sunday is the annual meeting. Okay, I'm just like, is that the right date? Next Sunday is the annual meeting, and it'll be right after the service. We will have pizza to bribe you to stay, but we also hope that you'll just stay so that we can all share with you what all the teams have been doing, what we envision for the year coming up. There's a lot of people on these teams. I forget, it's like 80 or 90 people total that are in service here, and it just gives us all a chance to share what we're up to and how much we love our community. So if you can stay, we're going to make it as short as we possibly can, and we hope you'll hang out with us for a little bit. The office will be closed on Monday for President's Day. So let's see. Heart Talks have been discontinued for now. We hope that there'll be a resurgence of that interest, but right now we're just going to hit the pause button on that. Lunch Bunch today is heading to Simmer at 11:30. And then lastly, you probably know this, but Unity of Fort Collins is on social media. We're obviously on YouTube. That's how people are watching us when we live stream. And you can also rewatch services later by going to YouTube. But we're also on Facebook and Instagram. So check us out there, follow us, like us, comment, share. It really helps us to get noticed and to have people hear about us. So that would be really helpful if you would do that. Okay, let's take a deep breath and center ourselves. And we'll say our unity prayer together. Our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world.
All right, good morning. Our theme is the spiritual walk. So we've got some good friends walking up here. Peter Parnag on the bass, and Gerald Gates, and Tom Barber back here. Okay. We're going to do 151 to start. Just a closer walk, just a closer walk, just a closer walk with thee. Just a closer walk, just a closer walk, just a closer walk with thee. Just a closer walk. Oh, just a closer walk, just a closer walk with thee. Oh, granted Jesus, oh, let it be. said just a closer walk, oh, just a closer walk, just a closer walk with thee. Just a closer walk, just a closer walk, oh, just a closer walk with thee. I said just a closer walk, just a closer walk, just a closer walk with thee. Oh, granted, Jesus, yeah, let it be. Let's tag it. Granted, Jesus, oh yeah, oh let it be. All right, thank you. Okay, now you up first, Robert? Okay, here he comes.
Well, hello, friends. Hi, good morning. I'm Robert Hudgens, and I've been around here for a while, a little more than half my life. Wow. And that's saying something.
You're old.
That's true.
I could be a 10.
Sure. So, as one speaker a while ago said, this is a place where unity is put into community. And I am so grateful for this community, absolutely. 1983, I think, was the first time I was connected with Unity, where I met Jerry Taylor. And I counseled with him about marriage and what that was about. I later counseled with Scott Thornton a few years later about divorce and what that was about. Jerry Taylor was here for about 17 years. Jerry and Cindy Taylor were quite a team. We actually got to know them later through some mutual friends. So in the latter part of the 80s and 90s, they married us in 1990. But it was Course in Miracles that actually got me here, even though I'd visited Unity when it was one time over at the square. It was downstairs. There's a big room in the basement, and that was before this place. But because of the 50th anniversary, and I'm really sorry to have missed it, but I was in the Church of Snow last couple of weeks, and was on a trip with my brother and his wife that had been planned for a while. But Jerry Taylor, because I got to, because of the 50th, it finally spurred me on to actually reach out and find him and talk with him and Cindy. So I got to have a phone call with him. And I learned a few things about this church that I did not know. First off, he'd been here 7 years, had outreach classes that he did in Fort Morgan, Cheyenne, North Platte, and Casper. Some of them on a weekly basis, some on a monthly basis. And he helped incorporate the church. And they spoke of when they were going away, they decided he didn't want to hold a pulpit any longer. It was, and when they left, there was so much love and gratitude for them that they were like, why are we leaving? I don't know. But he also mentioned his gratitude for Sue Ann Kelly, Reverend Sue Ann Kelly, who came after him, who was the one who helped buy this church. And they bought it on faith. They got a mortgage with a balloon payment, had no idea how they were going to pay for that. This back in the early 80s. You might remember there was 13, 14% interest. And Addie Tiemann is an unsung hero. Probably nobody here has ever met. I have no idea who this woman was. She was actually from the Fort Morgan study group. And when it came time for that balloon to be paid, she stepped up and made a payment that was large enough to allow that balloon to be paid, or at least for them to refinance. And yet she was not normally a member of this church, but just gratitude for Jerry and Cindy's time and service there. I first came really to Unity because of the Course in Miracles, and grateful for that. David and Karen were the leaders at that time, or the non-leaders. They were the ones that just allowed anyone and everyone to have their own experience with the Course. I don't know if I need to read the rest of this timeline, but they were important. Also, in 1987, the Course had kind of petered out a little bit. David and Karen had stopped doing it. We had a small hiatus. And in September, I believe, of 1987, John Model, a local psychiatrist who was also committed to the Course in Miracles, came and gave a talk and started the Course in Miracles up again. And Paul Holdeman was there. Will Moore was there. And Ann Williams was there. And I was there. Will then sang at our church with a couple of other friends. Give Yourself to Love was the song, one of the songs they sang, which Ann and I sang to each other this Valentine's when we couldn't get it to work on her radio. And we still know it and love that song. So the lessons that I've learned here in this church. When I talked to Jerry that very first time, he quoted his wife Cindy as having said that Cindy didn't love Jerry more than anyone else because we are all love. It's who we are. But she resisted him less. Pam Timms was a longtime preschool teacher here. Both of our kids went to preschool here as a cooperative preschool, so I got to participate on a periodic basis. And every time they would have meals, or their snacks, she would have juice in a pint measuring cup that they would pour, and almost inevitably somebody would spill it. And so everybody would stop, and we would all say, "That's okay, everybody spills." So I learned that we can all make mistakes and that we are all good. And of course, one of the principles, God is all good. God is everywhere and in everyone, and probably the most important of the unity principles to me. I also learned that in spite of outer appearances, divine order is established. Which really became powerful with a silent unity time when I was in distress. And all is well. And I'm also very grateful for Sharon Push and the Prayer Chaplain Program, and Jim for coming here. And the Prayer Chaplain Program has helped my commitment to my own spiritual growth, to connecting with that spirit daily, and to also recognizing the divinity of at least my list of people and everybody else at the church and everybody in my family, and as I expand that out to the rest of the world. And I understand that we are all love. Thank you.
My stomach is lurching. Thanks. When I was a little girl, I heard a kid at recess ask another kid, "Do you swear on the Bible?" I asked my dad what that meant. He explained, and I said, "The Bible must be way more important than I thought it was." He told me the Bible was like a collection of fairy tales. I considered my dad the smartest person I knew, so I believed him. I've been to 8 Unity churches in different parts of the country. My son was raised in Unity. As Hadley said last Sunday, I belong in Unity partly because of the many viewpoints voiced. I've learned here at UFC how I want to interpret the Bible, and my biggest childhood religious question has been answered. That question was, if God is omnipotent, who told God that he, she had to sacrifice their only child? Who is more powerful than God? The attachment to the suffering part was more than I could bear. I walked into my first Unity church in Beaverton, Oregon in 1994, and there were no ominous crosses hanging around. I knew I was home. I've been here at UFC since 2012. I've seen that not all Unity churches are the same. Some are more traditional and Bible-centered, and others draw from all kinds of teachings. There are 2 beliefs I remember best as I've adopted new perspectives from taking classes and attending Sunday services. One is from my first Unity minister. He said, everyone is doing the best they can all the time. If they could do better, they would. The other belief is from a rabbi who spoke on this stage a couple of years ago. He said God made an imperfect world so we could co-create with God. This means we have permission to work with and get closer to God, however God looks to us. I've asked so many questions and grown in so many ways over the years, thanks to my involvement in Unity. I've known many levels of friendship that have enriched my life, mostly from classes and volunteering. Since 1994, I've been given a chance to play with creativity in a performance kind of way. My first Unity church had an active theater group. I brought theater to the other Unity churches I attended. Since 2012, I enjoyed a fertile playground here during my earlier years at UFC. I've loved singing in choirs. I've loved helping with events. Unity has given me a place to share my feelings, thoughts, time, and talents, a place to co-create with God while doing the best I can. I am grateful.
Thank you, Joanne and Robert. Walk of life. Okay, going along with the theme of the walk, we're going to do a Mark Knopfler song right here. Dire Straits, thing called The Walk of Life.
Maybe we're not in dire straits.
But you're right, Peter.
Maybe we're not.
Maybe we're not in dire straits. Yeah. Good. All right, all right. Give me that tempo. What's that tempo, Tom? Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, here comes Johnny singing, old is gold is, be my little baby when I say, here comes Johnny singing, I got a woman down in the tunnel trying to make me pay. He got the action and he got the motion, oh yeah, boy can play. Dedication, devotion, turning all the nighttime into the day. To the song. He did a song about you, baby, do the walk of life, the walk of life. Well, here comes Johnny and he'll tell you a story. Hand me down my walking shoes. Here comes Johnny with the power and glory, the backbeat, the talking blues. He got the action and he got the motion. Oh yeah, the boy can play. Dedication, devotion, turning all the nighttime into the day. He knew the song about the sweet love of woman. He knew the song about fire. Baby, do the walk of life. Walk of Well, here comes John Mackey singing old Goldie. What? Baby, what I say? Here comes Johnny singing, I got a woman down in the tunnel. He got the action and he got the motion. Oh yeah, the boy can play. Dedication, devotion, turning all the nighttime into the day. There's a song about the sweet love. There's a song about the story of life. Baby, do the walk of life. Do the walk of do the walk, 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 do the walk. So beautiful.
Thank you very much. All right. Now we're gonna hear from Barbara.
Well, good morning. There was a moment I wondered if I was ever going to get up here. But I'm here, and I'll keep within the parameters of my 15 minutes. So I want to thank the band. I want to thank the choir. And I love electric guitar. That's what my dad played, so I decided, even though he's living in Fresno, California, he must be listening somewhere. And Daddy, you're in this talk. So, I'm happy that you're here. In California, Jim and I are regarded as the polar bears. And I want them to know we got a whole room of polar bears. So I'm grateful that you're here. I hope you all had a great Valentine's Day. I got flowers and I brought them to share with you. So my talk was the first bump in the road. It's been talking to me for a couple months. I think I have enough paper in the den to do 7 more talks. And so the first bump was, what is the title? Well, I don't know. It's my spiritual walk. Is that the title? I thought, well, no, it's not that simple. So my spiritual walk, the lessons I've learned, the forks in the road, and the bumps along the way. I think Courtney was going to faint because it was so long. And she's right. But it is today. I don't have stories to share with you, even though I'm a storyteller. I have life experiences of mine that I want to share with you and how they changed me, how they were my spiritual walk and continue to be. So I'm going to start with how I was raised. It was complex, like me. Religion and spirituality were all around me. Not so much spirituality, but a heavy dose of religion. I was raised with a trifold religious experience. My father is a Southern Baptist and still practices that way. My mother was a Catholic. My godmother, bless her soul, Dinah Kaplan, was Jewish and really brought that sense of community into my life. My folks were in two clearly different camps. Until the time I was about 12 years old, they spent a lot of time on getting me to go to their side. They had no idea they were training me to be a New Thought person. No idea. Because I could kind of take what I wanted, kind of a buffet Catholic, kind of a buffet Southern Baptist, and I loved my time at the temple with Dinah and her family. If you had to ask me which one was the most influential in my formative years, my folks would be aghast. Thank God one of them's passed. It would have been Judaism, because I loved the way it made me feel. When I went in, they were just happy to see me. They didn't ask if I was a little Protestant. They didn't ask if I had another denomination. They were just happy to see me. And so I think of that saying, you might not remember what people say to you, but you will remember how people made you feel. My family of origin, on one side, were extremely superstitious and fearful. And to give you a little story about how that didn't affect me, the other day, Jim was outside, and he's going back up on that roof. So I was in a nice suit, and he starts to go on the ladder, and I think, well, I'm going to hold it. He's already taken my picture. I can take this to the cleaners. Who cares? So I'm holding it, and from inside the window, Reverend Jim and a few other people were saying, aren't you scared? You're standing under the ladder. I thought, no, I've had years of that. My dad's side of the family, well, they were not trusting people, and they were not overly happy people. I was an outgoing child in a family of introverts, and I used humor a great deal. I still use it. It helps me lighten up. I need the levity, and I needed the levity to lighten up in an environment that at times was heavy. All those strong religious foundations led me to formulate my own thoughts. My dad has a very analytical mind, and so much you go by the law, and that was his career. And what he didn't know, as his oldest child, if he taught me to be a critical thinker, I just might not come out thinking like him. So I'm going to tell you my first story. Not a story, but it happened. It happened to me, and bless her soul, it happened to my choir teacher. I was attending a Christian school. My dad always felt like he had to get a handle on me. And so I was 6 years old in the first grade. I was selected to be one of the 3 angels. I have to tell you, it wasn't because I had any talent. I was tall enough to wear the harness. My mother could sew the costume. I was bright enough to read, and I could learn the lines. So I got to be the lead angel. And I was quite excited about that. Now, classes, I was there, and I was so excited, and it was the first rehearsal. So I came into chapel, and I didn't chat. If you know me, I talk a lot. And so went in there, I sat in the front row. Mrs. Wagner was extremely serious about this. I think she thought she was up for an Oscar for our performance. And there were 2 other angels. I was the tallest one, and she said, "Go over there, Barbara, put your halter on. And when you get it on, we'll hook it up to the cord, and we'll hang you from the ceiling." That was not in my lines. So I looked at the cord, I looked at the halter, and I just said, "No." She was not happy, and she expressed her anger in a few words. I don't remember any of that, but I could tell by her scroochy face she was mad. And she said, "You have to do this." No. She looked at the other 2 girls, told them to put on their halters, and they just began to cry. So, there we were, the rebellious angels, really not part of the Christmas program. So she said, getting all of her stuff into her bags, "Come tomorrow for the dress rehearsal, bring your costumes. And you'll be standing on ladders." Okay. So I got my costume. Now my costume was quite spectacular. My wings were made out of coat hangers. And I had itchy net that was glittered to death. And I had a white, bulky little thing for a tall, chubby girl. It was not a great look. And then we had gold braids that we put on. And my little halo, and I was off. I got my costume on. And I looked at the ladders. They were 6 feet. They were really tall. She said, "Barbara, get up to the ladder, and when you get to the top, we're going to turn you around." My first thought was, what am I going to hold on to? So I looked at him. I looked at her. She was kind of the color of my roses because there was this quietness. And I said, "No." And this time I shook my head as hard as I could so another comment wouldn't come. The minute I started shaking my head, those little girls, they were crying. They didn't move to the ladder. She said, "You're going to ruin this program." No. And, okay, so it's the big night that night. And there we were in our bulkiest, most heaviest shrouds of angel costumes, standing on white crates upside down with white fabric over them. We were as thrilled as can be. Parents were flashing their bulbs, so proud of us. And the angel rebellion was just a memory. So, I'm going to talk about, do you have the slide, Courtney? Okay. So this is one of my favorite slides from Pima Chodron, from Welcoming the Unwelcome. And probably my choir teacher thought I was. Humor lights up the spiritual path, and it prevents it from being a drag. It gives us the opening to go deeper into teachings rather than becoming fixated on what we think they should mean. So, I'm not sure if I have time for the second story. Okay. So, I'm about 11, and I have finally gotten old enough that we, the elementary kids, could sit up on one side of the church. And my dad, he got to sit with all the deacons, and they sat on the other side. And Reverend Rice, he was up 10 feet, easy, and he had his pulpit, and it was solid maple, looked rather scuzzy, and he was pounding it and pounding it, and he was a very fire and brimstone. Bless him, he might given me some of my animation. And I was listening to him, and then I got to thinking, like a week before, I'd asked my dad, "What's wrong with Reverend Rice's left arm?" He goes, "What do you mean, what's wrong with it?" I said, "It's not real." And he said, well, he was in World War II. He had lost his arm. And, you know, prostheses were not very swanky. They looked like a really bad mannequin and kind of like a claw. And so I always kind of stared at it, you know. He's up there pounding and he's pounding. And I hear a click. And the locking mechanism of his arm gives way and it falls down about 8 feet into the middle. And it lands, because I'm one of the taller kids, in front of me. What to do? What am I going to do with this? I look at all the kids in the row, and obviously they hadn't been talking to their dads because they were like this. Oh, God. I look over at the deacons. I think surely one of them's going to get up. That's their role. They're going to walk across the aisle. They're going to pick it up and rescue me. No. I look at my dad, and he's waving his arms like a madman. He's telling me, you. And then he's telling me, go up. Now, being a preteen girl, I didn't want to be known as the most courageous. Now think back in the day, this was not a good role for women then. There wasn't Shira. Okay, so I'm looking, and there was no ignoring him now, because now he's got both of his hands, and his face is red. He's all wound up. So I get out, I pick it up. It was heavy. And I start going up those steps, you know, and only Reverend Rice was supposed to be up there, so there was no railings. I'm trying to carry it and pick it up and still wear my dress and put it down where Reverend Rice told me to put it. And from then on, I was called Barbie the Brave. But when I think, okay, Dad. When I think about it, I'd had 12, 15 years of formal religion. And when I speak to you now at 68 years old, those are the two things that stand out. From training union and Bible school and catechism and being, you know, confirmed as a Catholic and all of it, and being baptized. I remember those two things. The arm falling in front of me. But there was a time when something changed. And I can remember the day. It was May 29th. You see, I didn't want my children to be raised in all the formal religions I was in. I didn't know what else was out there for them, but I didn't want anyone to dampen their spirits. So May 29th, I'm woke up by a vague phone call. It is 10 days after my youngest son is born. I can remember that somebody picked it up on the other side of the house. I wasn't feeling well that night. And I remember hearing children playing in the living room. I thought, well, I should get up. What time is it? I should get up. I put the blankets back, and I'm hemorrhaging. I think, well, I can't move. I don't want to go out and scare my children. That was my first thought. And the paramedics were called, and I remember waiting for them to come. They came in the bedroom. They put those pressure pants on me to try to stop the bleeding, or at least slow it down. I remember just so anxious about my kids. You know, they were little. One was a baby. They weren't easy. And I can't imagine who's going to come over and take care of all those kids. This was my thought as they put me on the gurney and they wheeled me out the door. And as soon as I got out in the door and I was going down our long driveway, I felt such peace. There were birds singing. The sky was really blue. You know, I didn't think about my kids. I just felt very serene. They put me in the ambulance, and the last thing I heard someone saying is, we need to use the paddles on her. And then I don't remember much. And I was encased in white. I was the most peace I've ever felt. And I heard another voice say, "You need to go back. Your children need you and it's not your time." And instantly, nobody really asked me, because I might have said no. I was inside back in the ambulance. It was rolling up, and I felt pretty intense pain. I was back in the body. But you know, after that, when I went home, I was grateful because, you know, I knew there was more. And I knew there was more than I'd been taught, and I knew there was a lot more that I needed to know. And so I set on a journey, finding what would be the right church for my children, which would be the right spiritual walk for my family. It took me 10 years to get where I really thought I wanted to be, but it kept pulling at me. So one day, I walked into a New Thought church, and my heart felt at home. So, I won't bore you with all the facts. I became a practitioner, which is a blend of what we would consider a prayer chaplain and a teacher. I did that and thought, okay, that was my call. No, I'm in the practitioner training, almost ready to get out, and my call says, you're going to be a minister. Oh, really? And so I was very happy. I was going to work full-time, had a lot of kids, and I went online. Someone told me about the Emerson Institute, and I did become a minister. Some dates you remember. In October of 2010 and March 20th of 2011, I became ordained as a religious science minister. And I was an assistant minister. I'm really good at being number 2. And I was that for 4 years and did double duty as a practitioner. In the last 17 years, I've been a practitioner or prayer chaplain for 11 years. And so I'm going to end my talk today and share it with you with something that is very dear to me, just like all of you are. And so I'm going to share with you my stole. Okay, oops, sorry, Richard. He was so kind to put all that nice, and I'm messing it up. So my stole is called Women's Spirit, River Flowing. And it is made of Guatemalan silk and threads, and it comes from Guatemala. And when I think of it, I think how unique each of us are, how each little thread is different. But when we gather together, how we are all one. So I'm grateful for this church. I'm grateful for this time. And Jim and I know when we walked in here that our hearts are at home again. Thank you. And so this will be the hardest thing for me, to get silent with y'all. So I'm going to ask that you close or soften your eyes, whichever is your preference, or you can keep them open and you can just look at me. I'm going to ask you to put your feet on the ground. Get out of what I'd say to my sons and daughter, all your wiggles, and sit where you're comfortable so that you can go inside to that divine mind, your indwelling God. And think today, what is calling you? What is your calling? And it only can be for a moment. It only can be for a glimmer. It might only be a feeling. All of those, think about where you want to go and go into this moment of silence. And so, hearing my words, if you want to come back to this room, come back. Wiggling your foot, hearing the noise around you, maybe hearing the person next to you breathe. You're back in this room, but I'm hope and I pray for you that you bring back something that you can take into this week, or you can plant in your heart, in that substance of divine love, and let it grow. And so I'll call you back. And so I hope that you go home with something that moves your heart and your mind. And so it is.
May the blessings of God rest upon me. May God's peace abide in me. May God's presence illuminate my heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide in you. May God's presence illuminate my heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon us. May God's peace abide in us. May God's presence illuminate our hearts now and forevermore. Now and forevermore.
Well, Barbara, thank you. Thank you for opening that loving golden heart of yours and letting us just see a little bit more of you. You're very precious, and we thank you for being here as part of this community. And thank you, John, for your music, and all of you musicians that come up here and so beautifully express your talents. So it's our turn. It's our turn as a community to support this place with our tithes and offerings. So I'll have the ushers come forward. And as we do that, let's bless our offering with the words on the screen. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, all that I receive. Thank you, God.
I'm going to ask my choir members to come on up. Okay, you probably know that myself and Elise Wonder trade off every Sunday. We've had a really great time doing music here. And one reason is we've been writing songs, sometimes to the messages that are given. One day, Reverend Sharon quoted Martin Luther King, who said, I've decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. So I wrote a little song from that. Go.
All I really got to be is positive energy. All we really got to do is help each other to get through. And I've decided to stick with love. I've decided to stick with love, because hate is too great a burden to bear. I've decided to stick with love. All I really got to be positive energy. Oh, I really got to do is help each other to get through. I've decided to stick with love. I've decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. I've decided to stick with love. Play guitar, Tommy. All is breaking down. I decided. Well, I've decided. Yes, I've decided. I've decided. I've decided. People, there was a man. For love, he took a stand. Hated on the throne in jail, but he never struck back at all. Yes, this man's name was Dr. Martin Luther King. And these words, they mean everything. I've decided to stick with love. Decided to stick with love. Oh, hate is too great a burden to bear. I've decided to stick with love. Give me one. I've decided to stick with love. I've got to be is positive energy.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, we got children coming in, hopefully.
Okay.
Okay.
Which key? G.
What's that?
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine on the corner of Lines and Vine. Here on the corner of Lines and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Here on the corner of Lines and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Here on the corner of Lines and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So the kids have decided they're having so much fun, they just don't want to come out here with us, the rest of us today. So again, thank you, Barbara. You know all that paperwork you got in that den? I hope you'll get it ready for next talk, okay? All right? And thank you, John, and the musicians. So we've had fun today, haven't we, on this cold, cold winter day? So next week, Sharon is going to talk. So I hope that you'll come and see what she has to say next week. Let's circle up and hold someone's hand and just wish them a happy Valentine's month. Okay? So together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.